Hi, PerspectaWeather.com. Meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, April 3rd. A strong ocean storm is pulling away from the Mid-Atlantic coastline this morning off to the north and east. Skies have already cleared. The winds have not picked up yet in intensity, but they will during the latter part of the morning and the midday and afternoon hours. Gusts to 30 or 35 miles per hour or so in Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. during the midday and afternoon hours. Perhaps up to 45 miles per hour or so up across the New York City metro region. And the dew points will drop this afternoon with all the mixing in the atmosphere. It'll pull down some drier air from aloft. A sunny but windy afternoon coming to the Mid-Atlantic region. It looks like another storm system will affect the Mid-Atlantic region Thursday night and especially Friday and Friday night with more rain. Showers likely on Thursday night, and then rain is likely on Friday into Friday night. It's liable to pull on out of here by the early part of the weekend, and we are quite likely to squeeze out a pretty decent weekend here before another system affects the Mid-Atlantic region by Sunday night or Monday with some more rain. Well, before we get to the short-term outlook, let's kind of look at a little bit more of a medium-range outlook. And there certainly are signs that there will be more cold shots during the month of April. A couple of indices we take a look at during the wintertime and the springtime, especially the Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation. And when they go into negative territory together, that kind of bodes well for some cold shots into the eastern part of the U.S. And indeed, that is the forecast for both of these indices to go into negative territory over the next couple of weeks. This is the Arctic Oscillation Index. Black represents where we've been. Red represents where we're going in terms of a forecast. In this case, the ensemble version of the GFS forecast. But notice, sliding into negative territory over the next few days and then staying in negative territory. The negative Arctic Oscillation Index tends to favor cold air outbreaks into the eastern part of the U.S. We also like to take a look at the North Atlantic Oscillation Index, which is kind of a cousin to the AO, and that too is dropping into negative territory. In fact, let's take a look at that right now. And here we go. This is the forecast for the NAO, and indeed, that is expected to slide into negative territory. That tends to result in not only cold air outbreaks coming into the eastern U.S., but perhaps the sustainment of a cold air outbreak. When both of these indices fall into negative territory and stay in negative territory, you can have cold air outbreaks that last a while, even into the month of April. And indeed, it looks like that is on the table for the next couple of weeks. Well, let's take a look at one more map before we get to the short-term outlook. This is a map of the 500 millibar height anomalies in about 9 or 10 days or so at the end of next week from last night's GFS model run. I just wanted to show this pattern here. We often talk about high latitude blocking, and that tends to favor the penetration of cold air outbreaks into the eastern U.S. Well, the negative AO, negative NAO that are forecast to take place over the next week or two often is correlated with high latitude blocking. And here indeed we have quite an impressive block setting up here over the northern latitudes like northern Canada, Greenland, again in about 7 to 10 days or so. At the same time, trough develops over the eastern seaboard, another trough along the west coast. This favors penetration of cold air masses from central Canada into the eastern U.S. So this looks like we have more cold shots coming here into the Mid-Atlantic region and indeed the northeast U.S. and much of the central and eastern U.S. over the next couple of weeks. Well, let's now focus on the short term and look at the GFS surface forecast maps going forward. We had some rain last night in the D.C. metro region. Not much occurred in southeastern Pennsylvania. Certainly was a little bit of rain in New Jersey, all from that developing nor'easter that's pulling away from the New England coastline this morning. It will still have an impact here in the Mid-Atlantic region, however, as the pressure gradient tightens. Winds will increase in intensity shortly over the mid to late morning hours. The winds will become much more noticeable and will gust past 30 miles per hour or so, maybe 35 miles per hour or so in Philadelphia and D.C. during the midday and afternoon, and perhaps 45 miles per hour or so in New York City later on today. Mostly sunny skies, and watch for those dew points to drop over the next several hours. And here we go into the evening hours. Still maybe some breezy conditions this evening, but the winds tend to die down late tonight. And then clouds will generally be ruling the skies on Thursday ahead of the next system. And here we go. We have cold high pressure moving into the northeast U.S. later tomorrow night. And the next system arrives perhaps with rain shower activity in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor on Thursday night. A chilly rain at that. Maybe even some ice pellets up across higher elevations later tomorrow night in northeastern Pennsylvania, southeastern New York. And then on Friday, generally a weak low pressure moves into the eastern U.S. and it looks like basically a rainy and probably a chilly day on Friday. The temperature forecast is quite difficult here. It looks like you may have a little bit of cold air damming, and that could keep temperatures quite chilly, at least in New York and Philadelphia on Friday. Maybe having trouble reaching 50 degrees in both those areas, maybe even holding in the 50s in D.C. Again, with some rain likely on Friday and Friday night. Snow up across northern New England, and then that generally looks like clears on out of here Saturday morning, and we'll squeeze out a pretty decent weekend, it looks like, here in the Mid-Atlantic region. Partly sunny, mild conditions, maybe a shower early in the day on Saturday, and then maybe a shower late in the day on Sunday as the next system arrives, and indeed it looks like there could be showers Sunday night and or Monday in the Mid-Atlantic region. Here we go all the way by to Monday morning, and showers return to the Mid-Atlantic region. Up across northern New England, cold enough for more snow or ice as we begin the new week. So more cold shots coming over the next 2-3 weeks or so, it looks like, into the eastern U.S. In the short term, mostly sunny today, but the winds will become the main factor. They'll pick up in intensity out of the west to northwest during the morning hours, and by midday and afternoon they'll be gusting past 30-35 miles per hour or so in D.C. and Philadelphia, and 40-45 miles per hour or so in New York City. That's it for now. For PerspectaWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Orion.